Hello dear students, welcome to the second video for the lesson Good Health. In the first video, we have learned about the different nutrients in the food and how they are important in our body and also the rich sources for these nutrients. In this video, we will be learning about diseases. The two types of diseases you're going to learn about are communicable diseases and non-communicable diseases. You'll also be able to identify the various kinds of microorganisms or germs which cause infectious diseases or communicable diseases. You'll also be learning about deficiency diseases, which are non-communicable diseases, and ways to prevent diseases. Diseases. Disease is a state in which the entire body or a part of it does not function properly. A person with a disease feels unwell, weak, and unable to work. When some part or many parts of our body are not able to function the way they normally do, for various reasons, we call it as a state of disease. We have all experienced diseases. Cough, cold, sore throat, fever, allergy, headache, these are all indicators or symptoms of diseases, meaning that the cause of the disease itself might be various, but these are the ways in which they manifest or they show themselves. And we know that something is wrong within our body or that we are suffering from some kind of a disease. Diseases can be communicable or non-communicable based on their cause. Communicable diseases are also known as infectious diseases. These are diseases that can spread from one person to another because they are caused by germs or microorganisms. When the germs or the microorganism which cause the disease moves from one person to an uninfected person, the uninfected person also contracts the disease. It's very important to remember that not all microorganisms are dangerous and disease causing. You must have heard of two terms, epidemic and pandemic. What is the difference? Let us understand the difference between these terms. An epidemic is when a disease which is infectious in nature spreads in a large area, say a state or a large part of a country. We call it as an epidemic. We call a disease a pandemic when the disease spreads across the world and jumps across countries. The best example of a pandemic is the coronavirus pandemic, which we are currently experiencing. The microorganisms which can cause a disease are primarily of four types. They are protozoas, bacteria, virus, and fungi. These are all different types of microorganisms, and in each type of microorganism there are several thousands of different subtypes. Now, as I mentioned earlier, not all of these are disease causing. Diseases which can be caused by disease causing protozoa include malaria, amoebic dysentery, leprosy, and kala azar. Remember that all of these diseases are not caused by the same type of protozoa but different subtypes of protozoa. Similarly, bacteria caused diseases include pneumonia, typhoid, tuberculosis, cholera, and diarrhea. These are diseases which are caused because of different types of bacteria infecting a body. Common cold, flu, chickenpox, polio, measles, and AIDS are examples of diseases which are caused by viruses. Once again, we are talking about various types of viruses over here which can cause diseases. These types of diseases caused by viruses are quite common in animals, and even plants are infected by various types of viruses which can infect them. Talking about fungi, fungi are of many types. Certain type of fungi can cause infections of the skin, eyes, ear, and hair too. But how do these infections spread? While the way in which infections spread will depend upon the microorganism which causes it, these are some of the more common causes of spread of infection. Some infections spread through direct contact with infected person or air. These are mostly infections which are caused by bacteria as well as viruses which spread like this. Each time a person coughs or sneezes, infectious agent, which might be a virus or a bacteria, remains in the tiny droplets of saliva which come out of the mouth. These remain in the air because of their very small size for several hours. So if any uninfected person happens to inhale this air during the short period of time that it stays there, the person can also get infected. Infections can also spread through contaminated food and water. The food and water can be contaminated because of insects such as houseflies, cockroaches, etc., which come and sit on them. Another cause of spread of infections is through animals such as mosquitoes, flies, and fleas, which act as vectors or carriers of the germs before transferring them to a healthy person. Let's take a look at what this actually means. Vectors are any organisms that carry disease-causing germs from person to person. Look at the example of mosquitoes. Not all mosquitoes can act as vectors or carriers, but certain types of mosquitoes, such as Aedes mosquitoes or Anopheles mosquito and the Culex mosquito, can act as good carriers of the organisms that cause the diseases such as chikungunya, dengue, malaria, yellow fever, and filariasis. When these types of mosquito bite an infected person, the disease-causing germ is transferred into the body of the mosquito and remain there till they are transferred to the body of another person through another mosquito bite. So the vectors or insects which can act as carriers of diseases in this manner include certain types of flies, certain types of ticks, aquatic snails, water fleas, as well as a bug called as the triatomine bug. Vector-borne diseases are responsible for 17% of all infectious diseases in the world. Malaria alone is the largest killer of children in the world, killing more than 500,000 children every year. The image over here is an example how malaria spreads from person to person. When the mosquito has previously sucked in the blood of an infected person and then bites an uninfected person, the malaria causing protozoa are transferred into the body of the uninfected person and multiply there in large numbers. Diseases can also spread through infected equipment like needles and scissors or body fluids such as blood. Examples of diseases which can spread in this way include AIDS and jaundice, which can be spread when the blood of an infected person transferred into an uninfected person, or when an infected needle which was previously used to prick an infected person is later on used on an uninfected person without proper sterilization. Now let's see how these diseases can be prevented. Diseases can be prevented by maintaining good personal and community hygiene. This is a most important factor in disease prevention. It's very important to consume only clean water, which is either boiled or filtered or chlorinated, depending on the amount of contamination that can occur in your area. Food also should be thoroughly washed, as food can carry the germs, and in areas where infections are very common, the food should also be cooked properly before eating rather than being eaten raw. Good hygiene, which includes using handkerchiefs and good etiquettes while sneezing and coughing, washing hands frequently, bathing daily, are also very important for preventing the spread of infectious diseases. Today, because of the COVID pandemic, you all know the importance of following good hygiene practices to prevent the spread of the disease. The spread of diseases which are caused by vectors can be prevented by preventing the breeding of these insects. To prevent the breeding of especially mosquitoes, we have to stop water from collecting and staying still anywhere in and around our homes. Water can collect inside objects such as abandoned tires, drainage pipes, bird feeders, toys which are left outside the house, and even wells or ponds which are not properly covered. To prevent the breeding of mosquitoes in large bodies of water such as ponds where the water cannot be drained out, spreading a few drops of kerosene on the surface of the water helps to prevent the breeding of the mosquito, as the mosquito will not be able to lay its eggs on the water. Another way is by growing guppy fish in these ponds. It's very important to keep the neighborhood clean and free of garbage so that flies are not attracted and different types of fleas and ticks do not breed there. Vaccination is another very important way of preventing an infectious diseases. Dangerous diseases such as polio and cholera can be prevented and controlled to a large extent through vaccination. Vaccination is the process by which a person develops natural immunity against diseases, and hence it is also called as immunization. What do you mean by immunity? Immunity is the body's natural capacity to fight against a disease. When a person is vaccinated, it wakes up the body's immune system and makes it ready to face the infection of the disease against which the vaccination was given. Vaccinations are available for protection against diseases such as tuberculosis, typhoid, cholera, polio, meningitis, flu, and so on. Remember that not all diseases are communicable. Many diseases do not spread from one person to another, and therefore they are called as non-communicable diseases. These are mostly diseases which are caused because of the deficiency of a vitamin or mineral in the person. Lack of vitamins A, B, C, and D, to name just a few, causes different diseases which show as different symptoms. Now let's take a look at the disease caused because of deficiency of vitamin A. Vitamin A is very important for a good vision. Vitamin A is responsible for the makeup of the photoreceptors on the retina of our eye. So, a deficiency or a lack of vitamin A in the diet causes a condition called as night blindness, where the person loses his or her vision in darkness, that is in night. Sometimes if the deficiency is very severe, it can also lead to complete loss of vision. Its sources of vitamin A include brightly colored fruits and vegetables such as spinach, carrots, butter, mangoes, pumpkin, egg yolk, and milk. Vitamin B is actually a group of many vitamins which come under the category of vitamin B. The deficiency of vitamin B causes a disease called as beriberi. Beriberi is a disease in which the person's muscles and nerves become weak, leading to sensitivity and causing the person to get cramps in his or her muscles and to become tired very easily. Rich sources of vitamin B include sprouts, cereals, unpolished or brown rice, milk, nuts, meat, and so on. Vitamin C is very important for good skin health and also for a good immune system. When a person is deficient in vitamin C, it leads to a condition called as scurvy. This was a disease very commonly seen in sailors when the cause of the disease was not known. Sailors who were very healthy when they started out but remained in the ship for many months used to have a diet which lacked vitamin C. This caused them to show a disease which is called as scurvy. In the disease, the gums of the teeth become weak and start bleeding very easily. The teeth begin to fall off depending on the severity of the deficiency. Also, the body gets wounded very easily and it's very difficult to heal. To remain free of vitamin C deficiency, one must have a diet which is rich in citrus fruits such as orange, lemon, tomato, amla or avla, grapes, guava, kiwi, strawberry. Now let's talk about vitamin D. Vitamin D is a very interesting vitamin in that a body can produce its own vitamin D with a few precursors from food. Vitamin D is responsible for good bone health because it enables our body to use up the calcium that we take in through our diet. For a body to produce ample vitamin D, it is important to have at least 15 to 20 minutes of moderate exposure to sunlight 3 to 4 times a week. The deficiency of vitamin D manifests through a disease known as rickets. It is a disease in which the person has a protruded chest called as the pigeon chest condition. Also, the legs of the person becomes curved in, which is called as bow legs. Sources of the precursors of vitamin D include fatty fish and eggs, and fish liver or cod liver capsules are also good sources of vitamin D. But the most essential thing for the development of vitamin D in our body is exposure to sunlight. Deficiency diseases can also happen because of deficiency of certain minerals which are important in our body. Calcium, for example, is a mineral which is very important for bone health. Deficiency of calcium causes a disease called as osteoporosis, which causes bone and tooth decay. The bones become more and more porous and soft in this disease, and also a condition called as brittle bones, where the bones can break very easily. To avoid osteoporosis and weak teeth and bones, it is very important to take in calcium through rich sources such as egg, milk, fish, meat, and milk products such as yogurt and cheese. Iodine is also an important mineral in our body, responsible for hormone balance. The lack of iodine in the diet causes a condition called as goiter, in which the neck is swollen towards one side. The risk of iodine deficiency can be avoided by using iodized salt in food, or having plenty of seafood, seaweeds which are edible, and also fish are good sources of iodine in our food. Iron is also an important mineral in our body. It is responsible for blood health. Iron is a part of the red blood cells and is very important for the function of carrying oxygen by the red blood cells. So the deficiency of iron in the diet causes a condition called as anemia, where the person becomes tired very easily. This is because of the deficiency of oxygen. Because there is no iron in the blood, the red blood cells will not work as well, and therefore the person becomes tired easily and looks pale, that is, lacks color in the skin, and becomes unhealthy. To avoid anemia, which is a very common condition, it is very important to take in rich sources of iron in our diet, such as grapes, dates, bananas, spinach, methi leaves or fenugreek leaves, jaggery, liver, beetroot, apple are some of the very good sources of iron. Some non-communicable diseases come under the category of what we call as lifestyle diseases. These diseases include conditions such as allergy, obesity, which is a condition in which the person becomes very heavy or quite overweight, diabetes, arthritis, asthma, smoking, drinking alcohol are all diseases which do not spread from one person to another but are just as dangerous. As you can see, many of these diseases have something to do in the way in which we live, and therefore they are also known as lifestyle diseases. Here are two simple tips to remain in good health. The first one is portion control. Portion control means controlling the amount and the type of food groups that goes into your plate and then into your stomach. With a good portion controlled plate that looks like this, with plenty of fruits and vegetables, a lesser portion of carbohydrates, and lots of pulses and protein sources, is a sure way to good health. But a balanced and good diet should also be supported by lots of physical activity. At least 20 to 30 minutes of intense physical activity every day is the key to good health. Let's recap. Diseases can be communicable or non-communicable. Communicable diseases are caused by microorganisms or germs which can spread by different means. Non-communicable diseases are either caused because of a deficiency in an essential nutrient in the diet or bad lifestyle choices. Now remember, dear children, the natural forces within us are the true healers of diseases. This code, said by the famous father of medicine, Hippocrates, the Greek physician who lived between 300 and 400 BC, holds true to this day. It is our inner peace and our lifestyle choices that are the true healers of diseases. This brings us to the end of this video. Stay fit, stay healthy. Thank you and bye bye.